There you go. All right. Call the meeting this 5 p.m. Monday, July 6, 2020 meeting of the Planning Commission. Do we need any kind of report from the Carter Planning Group? No? All right. Let's see. Mike, do you mind doing an invocation for us, please?
Everybody bow their head there, won't you? Dear Lord, watch over us during this meeting. Let us conduct ourselves in a way that is pleasing to you, a way that thinks of our citizens of this county and the best interest of all involved. Be with us this evening through that process and help us safely to our homes. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Mr. Gramling, do you mind leading us in the pledge, please?
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we've got public comment for non-agenda items. Mr. Markovich.
Yeah, I say in general, actually, it's about, and by the my name is Tom Markovich for the record. One, on the recreational vehicle ordinance or whatever it is, parks. I had sent Mr. Chapman a reference to a ordinance that's in Georgia that is a really well thought of, planned out, reasonable guidance for a recreation vehicle park. It made a lot of sense, and yet, and I realize it would take some evaluation, some time to figure this out. What I see the Planning Commission working on, to me, is not reasonable. It is hit and miss. It's like it's directing itself to one particular item, and I think that's problematic. And so I think I just don't see where this thing is going. Anyway, second comment, good neighbor ordinance. I don't know about this. One, there's a section in there that talks about lighting fixtures. No lighting fixtures above 20 feet. We build a lot of buildings that are greater than 20 feet. I have built many houses that are greater than 20 feet. We are obligated to put light fixtures in them. Sorry. That's the code. You know, we'd like to talk about building codes here a lot. That's the code. We have to put lights in above 20 feet. So, and then this idea of a privacy fence. To me, a good neighbor wouldn't expect his new neighbor to build him a privacy fence. I think this thing is it's absurd. I really don't think it's necessary. And I think a lot of us know how to be good neighbors without building fences. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Hall?
Good evening, my name is Will Hall. I live in Southport Village, which is on the outskirts of Seneca. Do you realize that we share 98.8% of our DNA with a chimpanzee? The truth of the matter is we share a percentage of our DNA with every life form on this planet. What's kind of funny to me is we call dog man's best friend, and we share 84% of our DNA with a dog, but we share 90% with a cat. So we have more in common with cats than we do dogs. But what does this have anything to do with the Oconee County Planning Commission? It is that 1% that no other life form on this planet has that gives us mega separation in reason. And from a secular perspective, that is what separates us from all other forms of life. But what is reason? Reason is the understanding of cause and effect. But what good is understanding of cause and effect if you don't work it to your advantage? But how do you work it to your advantage? It's called planning. Just a couple examples. If consider a tornado or a hurricane, or if for some reason you, the bad guys, were going to have a home invasion on your home tomorrow night, every other form in life, if they knew that, they wouldn't change anything they're doing. It would arrive and they would deal with it at the time and pay the consequences. Man, on the other hand, with reason, we know the consequences of what a tornado may do, or what a hurricane may do, or what the bad guys may do to our family, and we can plan ahead and remedy that. Last month, I talked about growth. South Carolina is, the whole United States, the whole world is growing, but South Carolina in particular is growing, and Oconee County is growing. South Carolina has a pleasant climate. It's got wonderful mountains. It's got wonderful beaches. It has a very favorable tax system. Oconee County is going to grow. Where you have growing, you're going to have more people, you're going to have more business, and you're going to have more conflict. It's coming. We can see it coming. But if we don't do anything to prepare for this growth that's going to impede the quality of people's lives over the upcoming years, we are no better than the dog sitting in the corner scratching himself. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Are there any comments from commission that you would like to make at this time? My only comment is that I promise, I did leave my phone in the car this time. I will not leave it next time. I will set it so that we have a 3-minute time per person. And I will ask Mr. Chapman if he doesn't mind to time the remainder of the meetings, of the comments tonight. Thank you. Nothing else? Are there any changes to the minutes?
I make a motion we approve the minutes.
There's, I don't have them in front of me, but there's
Number 9.
a digit 9.
Yes, sir. The digit 9 on number 6, under the list of things, Ms. Lyles made a motion to accept the minutes with grammatical changes.
What's wrong with that word?
We're on the metric system, so
Oh,
that's
a
why.
minute, okay, well, anyway, any other changes? Can we get a motion to approve the minutes, please?
So moved.
So moved.
All right, second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, our recreational vehicle park discussion, and I believe that we have, yes, Mr. Luce?
Okay, my name's Benny Luce, and I got RV Park, but I looked over, I talked to Adam a couple times, talked to Andy, and I tried, well, last time, didn't y'all tell me that a lot of this was brought on by people dumping sewer on the ground? Was that not what I understood, some of it?
That was some of it,
I
yes.
think that was.
Was that you that said that? Okay. I talked to Mike Crenshaw. I mean, you know, you got people at police this, and that's a D-head. That's their job. You got the people that, when you come out and be inspected for your power, that's their job. And then, you know, the sewer, the whole works. You already got people that does all this. And, you know, if you're looking for people, pretty much, the way I read it, you don't want anybody that, you know, what I understand, and I might be wrong, I'll take it for whatever. But you don't want a lot of people to live in campers. Didn't you say, Adam, that, you know, some of this was people was living year-round in campers? Is that somebody said that last time? Okay. If your house is burned out and you live in a camper, you build in a house, and, you know, there's a lot of people in this county can't afford to move out of a house, into a house right now, whatever. the way it looks here, it's making y'all look like you wanna move them out to a, put a hardship on them, the way it looks to me. You don't want them to, and I think a couple of you council people may have brought that up, that if you was living in a camper, you're right before being homeless. I heard that. Well, that ain't true. Hey, people that come to my place have got $100,000, $200,000 camper. And if you were to tell them that, they'd be very, very mad. So what I'm trying to tell you is, I don't see really any good at this except you just want to make more regulations. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Is that what it is? Tell me what good you think it's going to do for us. I mean, I'm just asking y'all. I'm not criticizing you or nothing. I don't think we should be going down this road or look at it a little bit. We need to look at it. It's gonna make y'all look real bad if it's out here told that you out here trying to kick poor people out, campers or whatever. Everybody that's in a camper is not poor. Had a lot of rich people, a lot of people that sold their homes. Well, you got them in your place. Over at Kiwi Keys, that's where you from? On the lake or somewhere? Well, that's what I was told anyhow. But you see people come through in a nice RV. They go from one campground to another. I see it. And I mean, that's where they live. So, but that's what I'm getting at. I talked to a few of them. I can get some more to come back next time. But everybody, this is the fourth. It's hard to get anybody out of doing anything. But if I'm not making any sense, go ahead and tell me.
I do have a question. So you're referencing that there's a group of people that obviously have campers that have the wherewithal and the means to drive that camper around.
They do,
and
or pull
whatnot.
it, or pull it.
So
But there's some people that don't. There's some people that has to park and live out of it. It might be close to homeless. So you want to kick them out? Is that what you're saying?
So are you advocating for the
I'm not.
folks that don't have?
I'm advocating for anybody that's got a camper. What I'm trying to tell you, what you're trying to put on could make it easy on some and hard on others. It's not going to bother me, a lot of this stuff. I already got mine. Somebody else might want to put one up. And it don't bother me, and maybe if it takes business away.
So do you feel that the next guy coming in, the next business coming in should not have to follow the rules that you're doing?
Well, no, I'm not saying
voluntarily,
that.
or?
The rules are right there is what I'm trying to tell you. You have to go through you have to go through water, ground. If you're disturbing the ground, you got to I can't even think of the name of it right now. Put a pond out there or whatever for your water. And you have to go through DHEC to get your septic. It's their job to keep up with people dumping sewage. And if they can't do the job, they need to hire somebody. Or if you put it on Mike Crenshaw or this county, you're going to be paying more taxes. You're going to have to hire a man to go around and see if I got mine, which I do. But DHEC, that's what I'm trying to tell you. You're going to create more of a headache than you are anything else. No, I done got mine. I'm not really worried about it. Other than somebody else might want to have something, and then here you're gonna, what it looks like to me, you're punishing everybody for a few people's doing a bad thing. If you get a permit to hook anything up, you got to go through. Don't you have to go out to the county and get a permit? I did.
To hook up.
Anything. If you get power to it, you have to go there to hook up anything.
One-stop shop, generally speaking.
That's right. And get a septic tank. You got to make sure, they have to make sure it's that, make sure you got water, and what kind of water you got. DHEC does all that.
How many times does DHEC come out to your property and
They don't-
check? Hang on.
No.
How many times do they come out to your property and check to see that your sewer has not overflowed or messed
don't.
up?
Do you want somebody to come around and check everybody? Well, how many times have they been out to your property?
They don't come out to my property.
Okay. Well, they don't
But
need
what
to
I'm
be coming out
asking,
mine
this
unless
this ordinance is not affecting the people that are living in these campers. This is for people that are building these things with no regulations whatsoever.
Show me.
DHEC comes in one time, says, do a septic tank. They come and look at it, oh, it's good, cover it up. Then they never come back. The power company comes out one time, looks at your connection, never comes back unless they got a tree in the way. These are things for the people that live in these parks, their safety. You don't want sewer running around in the ground there and your kids running across it.
You're wrong. I mean, the reason I'm saying you're wrong, once you put this ordinance out and you come out and check it, how many times you gonna come back and check it?
We have,
You gonna hire somebody to come out and
we
check
have
it?
a codes guy now that
You
comes
gonna,
out.
codes ain't got, they hadn't, I done talked to them all. You gonna have to hire another man, go around and police everybody. So that's what you actually trying to do, police everybody around this county.
No, I just don't want our kids running
Well,
through
your
the sewer.
kid, how
I
many,
don't want
show
to ride
me,
down
show
the
me
road.
one that's been doing that.
Sir, I'm not gonna argue
right?
with you. I don't want to ride down the road and see trash
I don't
from
either.
your campsite or other campsites. And I have seen that.
Well, then show
All
me.
right, well, we probably.
Okay, I'm done, I'm sorry, I didn't,
That's okay, that's all
but I
right.
mean, if you can't show me, then there you are.
I don't think there was the intent of the commission at any point to force the county to hire someone who would oversee. I think that we all know the limitations. For example, right now, DHEC, if I'm correct, allows the installers of septic lines now to self-inspect because they are undermanned.
That's right.
And so it worries me just a little bit because, you know, it boils down for me in agriculture that it is in fact integrity. That is the only thing that keeps us all safe and
Right.
protected. And unfortunately, as we get more and more people, we tend to, it appears, to get less and less integrity, unfortunately. So I think our intent is not to cause hardship on anybody, but in fact to protect those people that might be living in, and we're not, I mean, the guy that's got $100,000 in an RV does not need protection, obviously. It is those people that are in less than best life that might need someone to come in and check on them and make sure that they're
I'll be
being taken.
happy to go around with you, Frank, and we'll look. I'm serious.
Well, we don't, like I said, we don't need to get into any kind of, any personal things.
Well,
I
I'm
think
not.
our
I'm
intent
not. I don't
is,
mean it like that.
is to be the, and we are the planning commission. We're not looking at what's out there right now. We're looking at what's likely to come 20 years from now, when we don't have 75,000 people, but we have 200,000 people. It's gonna be a whole nother world at that point. So it's our job to try to foresee what we can do to protect all the citizens. Any other comments on the, or questions?
I'd like to point out that we don't have adequate affordable housing in Oconee County. And if an old used recreational vehicle serves as a home for somebody that would be homeless otherwise, I'm all for making it as easy for them as we can.
And this addresses none of that. I mean, this has nothing to do with that.
That's right.
Now, I was gonna, my question would be, what part of this says that anything about the age of the RV or even the state of the RV other than safe power hookup and clean water and trash disposal?
Well, who's gonna monitor, who's gonna, I mean, right now, if you have, say Benny's got a problem with sewage at his place, some of his people are gonna complain. They're gonna complain to DHEC, and DHEC has told us right here that when they got open sewage, they're gonna come do something. Okay, that's something there's already a mechanism to deal with.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chapman?
If I may, I think everyone's making valid points. If we start at the top and work our way through it, I think we'll start hitting those individual points. And as opposed to just looking at it as 3 sheets of paper, we can look at it individually, or if not line by line, at least portion by portion. If that's okay with you all, the highlighted portions and the striked out portions are just different than the last time I showed to you. That's why there's highlighted stuff and stuff struck through. That's the difference in it. So.
Can I make one statement before you start that process? One of the things, too, that we have to keep in mind, in my opinion, in looking at this document, is that this is a document that Oconee County staff sees as a benefit for them to do their job. When building codes are building codes, it's because we have seen that this is an issue if it's not explained to a builder. We've seen whether it's lawsuits or we've seen issues that arise that cause a code to become a code, that there's some reason for it. It's just not arbitrarily, hopefully, that, oh, let's just string a list of codes together. It's because there's been something faulty take place, and it's a consumer protection mechanism that has caused that code to come into play to begin with. This has been asked of the county staff that this is an issue or a potential issue, that they need a mechanism for giving guidance to people wanting to start RV parks, that it doesn't hinder or hurt an individual who wants to take and park an RV on their land. It's not addressing that. This is for somebody who's truly building a park, and Oconee County needs to be able to provide guidance to those people trying to do so. So I want us to make sure that we're looking through that filter when we're listening to what Adam's requests or comments are about this.
Thank you. Yes, sir. All right. Are we ready to go? If we start at the top, does anybody have a conversation as to the intent? Comments, questions?
We'd already passed that in the motion.
Right, okay. I just want to make sure that anything is not subject to discussion at this point. Any other definitions that anyone has a problem with? There was one that was struck. The other one is based on Mr. Chapman's, he said 4 to 19 was based on our subdivision.
So the last time it was 4 to 10 and 11 plus.
Okay.
But going back through it and kind of rereading it and looking at the intention of it, this is for RV parks. And there's other portions of this that, I think a 20 unit, I mean, you can make money off a 20 unit RV park. I mean, you can obviously make money off of a 7 or a 10 or smaller one, and give people that opportunity to go larger without having to put in any additional, any too large of a step. So that's why I kind of shifted them up, and when we move through the document, I can kind of point out those reasons.
All right, any questions down through authority? There were no other changes.
You need to approve this with a motion, the definitions, so that we can have some foundation we're building on, or is that gonna?
It's up to you.
I'd rather go through the entire document.
Would you rather?
You would? Okay.
Okay. All right, authority is personnel employed by the county administrator as the zoning administrator or their designee, vested with the authority to enforce and administer RV park standards within the county. That doesn't stipulate that you have to hire somebody new. It simply means that it is someone who works for the county or is designated by the person in zoning. The regulations set forth in this article shall be applicable within the unincorporated areas of the county. I think that's always true, correct? We can't
Lynn,
judge the cities.
can I back up to authority here?
Yes, sir.
Mike, you brought this up, and you said, you and I are living in RVs, we're this far apart from each other. I'm collecting junk. You're neat. You got children, it's not safe for your children coming over and playing in my junk. So where does the owner step in or the agent step in to clear this up? Or does it have to go to some other individual or person or agency to try to get this corrected? In other words, I'm the guy that's got a pile of junk out there in my RV. He doesn't want to complain to me because he's 5 feet living from me. So where does the owner of this park step in? Is he not responsible at all for this? Or
He
does
is.
it have to go to an outside agent?
Yes.
I am assuming, and that we all know where that ends up, that your county administrator or zoning administrator would be your last ditch effort. That would be the person that you would turn to if your neighbor himself cannot cooperate with you. And B, if the owner of the park cannot work something out, I would certainly expect the owner to be the first person that you would go to. But the county has no authority to make him,
Okay.
correct? Am I, Mr. Johnson?
Adam, could we expand authority if this is a blueprint? If I'm coming in to build an RV park and go, man, what do I need to do? Who do I need to contact? Could authority also not include a list of everybody that's going to be involved with that RV park, whether it's DOT, whether it's the owner himself with regard to policing and making sure that all the other components are working? Or am I misunderstanding what authority means here?
So I just took these two out of our other couple of other ordinances. This is meant to say, this is the legalese boilerplate that Mr. Ruth would add, I'm assuming, would add when we, so after tonight, if we all like this and decide to put it into ordinance form, I'm gonna send it over to the law office and let them turn it into official, put all the whereas and heretofores in there. And the authority is who, it's like someone from the sheriff's office isn't gonna go put this out. Someone from Roads and Bridges isn't gonna do it. This is the office. So this is kind of put in there, so if somebody like gets a phone call like, hey, I'm with the county, yeah, well, who you with? Kind of thing. So this authority is meant for to oversee this ordinance itself. As far as the responsible parties, we could certainly put something in there that the owners of the RV park or the land thereof are, well, getting it fixed, but let me talk to.
Well, I mean, I see that you've got wastewater here as a DHEC thing. You've got utilities being whatever those utilities might be. Authority, maybe it's just it's boilerplate from what you all use. So if that's the right word, then that's the right word.
All right. Are we good with this? Okay. Go back to jurisdiction. The regulations set forth in this article shall be applicable within the unincorporated areas because we can't tell the cities what to do. But we are responsible for the unincorporated areas of the county. So I don't think we need to spell that out any further. Exemptions. The only thing I would recommend there, dealers and manufacturers of RVs, apostrophe S.
If I may, I'd like
Yes,
to
sir.
add, I wrote it down in my notes and I just didn't transfer it here, is storage facilities. Places that are outdoor storage that have RVs there.
Right.
I mean, there's plenty, like the one down at the old Gideon plant, and it's not an RV park, it's just happens to have a lot of RV storage. I'd like to add RV storage that are not meant for usage in there, if anybody has any.
Any problems with that? All right, existing RV parks. RV parks existing prior to the enactment of this ordinance are exempt from any of the following county regulations. Creation of new RV sites in an existing RV park will require adhering to this ordinance. Therefore, if anyone expands substantially, they would then begin to fall under the requirements of this ordinance. But those existing are grandfathered in as
Do we not need to put a
is.
number on that? I mean, because say he got his RV park and he adds one site, then he has to, all of his park has to meet these standards?
Mr. Lewis, you mind if we use you as an example since you?
Fine.
You have how many sites?
Got 12.
12 sites, all right. So this is, like a minor RV park is up to 19 sites. So you got 7 more, right? 7 more sites, that's 19 sites. So it'd still fall under this, but the only real change is the adding, and you already do garbage.
Huh?
You already do garbage.
I already got everything.
Right.
I mean, I don't,
So assuming that everything else here is met, it's already met, I would need like a site plan, kind of like just a drawing of how it is. But I mean, just, from this quick conversation here, assuming, you're on a state road, right?
Huh?
You're on a state road? Or you're
I'm on the state road.
You're on a state road. So he's got an encroachment permit from the state. Now, I'm gonna do this on the fly, so it's possible that I can skip over something,
The
but.
reason I was asking, it just says creation of new RV sites. Does that mean one site, or if he creates 10 more sites or 5 more sites, he has to abide. I mean, that's what I was trying to, as long as it's under the 19 and he's okay, they don't have to do anything except just,
No, I would go with like whatever that next one is. If that next one brings you to 13, because you're at 12, right? To 13, then I would say that, okay, well, let's say he didn't do, he already does, but let's just say he didn't do garbage, had to have a garbage facility. All right, we gotta put some, a garbage facility out there.
so shouldn't it say a creation of any new?
Certainly. Or if you all wanted to,
Does his addition of sites require him to back up and bring his existing sites into compliance?
not unless it would be required for the rest of it. So let's just, for conversation, like, and I'm sure he does. But let's just say he just has one little single track road that you couldn't get anything down. If those RVs got brought in there with a tractor, placed real close to each other, couldn't get a car in between them. They couldn't be like an all-weather road kind of thing. And unless he was gonna put that 13th unit, to out there, so it's just kind of like a subdivision, residential subdivision, kind of look at it that way. If it does require improvements, then it's possible, yes. But the improvements here, the big jump is from 19 to 20, not under 20. So it is possible, they'll have to do some improvements, but the improvements are, I mean, we're going through them now, is what they would be.
I still don't agree with that
Any
sentence.
other?
Okay, we can say any new if you'd like, that's.
I mean, we need to be a specific number. I mean, because the way it's reading now is if he does one, he's gonna have all of his park at that point, whether he has it. If he doesn't have garbage or he doesn't have whatever, he has to comply with the whole ordinance then if he adds one site to his park. And you're talking about putting a hardship on someone, that would, with 13 sites, just say he didn't have the sewer proper. I mean, it was done by DHEC, but it wasn't done by these standards, I guess. Then he'd have to correct everything on every site rather than just that one site, just for having one site. We gotta
Let's
make
use
it a little
roads.
plainer.
Let's use roads.
Or the roads, if he's got a road that goes in there right now and it meets all the standards that we have right now, why would adding one, and the way I'm reading it, add one more site, make the road wider? If it's already there, I mean, and even if he adds 9 more sites and goes into the major or minor part, if his roads are wide enough, then he don't have to do anything.
So I'm just tracking with our kind of our land development, although this is not land development, but, we certainly have, like, if you add 5 new sites in your health, that's certainly, that's something you all can do,
Or either-
for sure.
Something, if you stay under the 20, you don't have to do anything.
You can run 5 RVs off a septic tank?
You can run, it's all calculated on how many, each camper is counted as, I think, 50 foot, something like that. Feel like. Something like, it's like, and when I done mine, first one 20 years ago, they made you put 48 inches of gravel. I put 500 foot of fill line for 6 campers. That's more gravel than I got on my whole,
Right.
I had on my camper.
Right.
So I done that there, then I put 500 more underground. I mean, it's just 48 inches of gravel, 500 foot of fill line is a lot of gravel.
I'm pretty sure that when Brian came, he said that you could run
And
5.
Brian, they inspected, that's when they did inspect it, everything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't even think it's ever run to the end of it, if you want to know the truth about that.
Well, I just don't want somebody that
I
has a
understand,
park
I don't
that-
want my kids in one either.
Well, no, what I'm saying on this thing, I just don't want somebody that's gonna add one site, just say you decide, well, I can do one more site right here. I don't want people to have to improve the entire park just because of one site. The way this is reading, that's what it would have to be done. Everything would have to meet these standards.
But if, in fact, DHEC has approved it for up to X, and you add one more,
Well,
all of a
that's
sudden
true.
you're over the DHEC regulation, and again, it comes back to integrity. If you have the integrity to call DHEC and say, I'm gonna add a site, what do I need to do? If you don't, and you just stub it into what you have, then suddenly, then, oh, let's add one more, and one more, and one more.
Actually,
Yes, sir.
if I can,
Do we,
we
Yes,
just
sir.
put, we just put in,
if you don't mind, just
Come up,
step
I'm
up to the mic. Yes, sir?
we just put in, since you said that, let's put, you do the, what do you call those with the, I can't remember the name, like the high shell underground, what do you know, Tom, the
Yeah.
new system? Okay, we put in 8 at another place, and below there, had to put a wall, we had to put all kinds, we ain't got everything done, but put in 8. 8 of them would give you 400 foot, I think that's what it was. We put a bunch. We put extra for that very reason, but we can't put extra now without going back, because we'd have to start over. So, I don't see anybody, they can, people can run, well, you're right, people can do about what they want to. But you still, I mean, you come down to the policing part, but I don't know, you're right, I mean, you can add, but we would add, to make sure it didn't run out.
But there's those out there that may not ask and do
people
it illegally.
Actually, people that's gonna do wrong are gonna do
Come too
wrong.
wrong, yeah.
I mean, whatever we all do here, I'll say, whatever people's gonna do wrong, is gonna do wrong. And people's gonna do right, it's gonna try the best to be able to do right. I wasn't trying to be.
Oh, hey, man, don't worry about that.
That's what.
And I think that's exactly, we're trying to do it as loosely and as generally as possible. So creation of additional RV sites in an existing RV park will require those sites to adhere to this ordinance?
Well, and I think
That's a simple change in term?
what Adam was saying is he went through those steps where if you add one, it's basically a hand-drawn site plan that you can come in and show. If you've got garbage, the DHEC stuff is the DHEC stuff.
Yeah.
And if there's a road that's been operable and RVs are getting in and out of, it's entirely likely that it will still pass that test. So I don't think it's overwhelming if somebody needs to add another RV site.
I guess that falls down, Mr. Chapman, to, do you feel like this wording does what our intent is, as far as the RVs?
Well, that's certainly up to you all. I won't pretend to up there. I will say that if we look at 1, so if we want to go any higher number, if you add 2, 7, 19, however what the number is, I think we need a rationale for it, not just a round number, which people like using round numbers. So, I mean, adding 1, like, this isn't overly cumbersome. It does, especially if he has 19 and goes to 20, and if we were on a county road, it would definitely be cumbersome, for sure. But overall, this is very low touch. Low kind of impact here,
So, does anybody else have a suggestion for creation of new RV sites in an existing RV park will require adhering to this ordinance?
I think it's worded fine.
Okay.
Again, if we're creating a blueprint and people who are gonna do right, or try to do right, this serves as a blueprint to say, how do I do it right? People that are gonna do wrong are gonna do it wrong, and this potentially gives teeth to the county to say, you didn't do it right, we gave you a blueprint on how to do it right.
I think that's good. All right. Garbage and recycling facilities, all RV parks owners, operators shall provide on-site solid waste and recycling waste disposal facilities, containers which the RV park owner will be responsible for bringing to South Carolina DHEC approved disposal site on a regular basis, so as the solid waste recycling will not become a nuisance in sight or attractive to rodents and insects. There were no changes there. Anybody have a problem with that?
Other than the 2 verbs.
Other than 2 verbs, yep. And if we put a dash there, we're good.
Gotcha.
Wastewater, all RV park owner operators are responsible for ensuring RV sites that are for rent follow all applicable DHEC standards. Approved wastewater facilities shall be included in the submission of plans for any RV park if proposed or present. Good? Utility connections shall adhere to all local, state, and federal laws, including any applicable building code standards. Was that new in,
I reworded it, because
Okay.
Mr. Marcus and I had a conversation, I spoke with Mr. Root, and this kind of felt like some kind of balance, a little bit.
Kind of, maybe.
all right. Any questions on that one? The underlying zoning district shall determine setbacks and height regulations. Most of these are gonna be in control free, so most likely. Ready to travel RV and RV parks will be ready for travel as defined in this chapter. RVs not ready for travel will be reviewed utilizing Chapter 32, Article 6, land development and subdivision regulations, including the review process, private road standards, traffic impact studies, density, and all other regulations are applicable. And, yes, sir?
If I may, so the reason why that highlighted section went in there was just to kind of, it's not to be all inclusive, just meant to say, hey, these are the things, if he's gonna look like a house and talk like a house and walk like a house, we're gonna review them as a housing subdivision, because if you put a bunch of decks on them and things of that nature, they end up operating as homes. And why should they not be held to the same standards as our homes do?
All right, can I make a comment there? My own personal feeling there is ready for travel. As long as you have not cut the wheels off, cut the tongue off, all those other things that have made this now more of a mobile home park than an RV park. I mean, in the movies, they hooked up to a trailer and driven off and just left the deck sitting there. So the deck does not define it as not ready for travel, right? I mean,
So the definition of ready to travel here back up the page is, and it comes out of our flood ordinance, which we adopt directly from the DNR, which is directly from the federal government, is where it is on wheels or a jacking system, so it's not set up on a foundation or off a axle, is attached to the site with only quick disconnect type utilities and security devices, and has no permanently attached additions. Now, someone can argue with me that, it's bolted on, that's not permanent. And maybe in that situation, it's not. Maybe they're just maybe it's for a wheelchair ramp. Okay, well, that's completely obvious. But a lot of times people build houses around them. There's a development down the southern part of this county where there's houses built around the RVs. I would call those, if you cannot get the RV out of the house without tearing the house down, I would call that permanently attached. So that's a definition. Now, we can add to that if you like, but I just took that from our flood zone ordinance.
comments or questions?
As long as we have a clear definition somewhere of what permanently attached means, because like Ms. McPhail, if somebody has a covered porch on the front and it's physically standing but not physically attached.
Well, it's gonna be bolted, but I think there is I mean, for me personally, I think there is a tiny bit of a difference between a deck that might be bolted on for whatever reason. If I build it, I better bolt it to something. As opposed to, like you're talking about, you totally destroy the structure when you drive away from it. I don't know how you would define that, but for me, I would think that there is a small difference. I mean, you can build something so that you can actually almost come and go with between it. We do it with the horse trailers all the time, but that would not be the same as if we built a whole house and added roofs and everything else to the. So is there something that we need to make it more?
And if you cut a new back door, it's probably not ready for travel, but yeah,
That's the thing, when you get into a Sawzall, taking out a big, and then adding a room on the back of it, whatever.
but I think if that could still be moved, then it's ready for travel.
Yeah, Mr. Chapman, does that work for you? Do you need to word that in such a way?
I think we ought to be sympathetic to people that need affordable housing. What, are we being hard on these rules for more tax revenue?
Give an example of where this application from an affordable housing standpoint. I doubt they're gonna be making many additions if they're trying to have affordable housing. That's why I'm wondering what the example.
Well, if you got an old camper that you hadn't put tires on in 30 years, and you got a little deck built on it and stuff like that, we're gonna disqualify it from being a camper so that we can then, and, I mean, we're gonna charge them, more, taxes? What's the advantage to the county of not allowing that?
I would suggest that a flat tire, I would hope that this regulation would not say that a flat tire in any way makes that a permanent structure.
No, so so the three questions is, this doesn't affect taxation. The assessor's office and auditor's office, they do their thing independent of what we'd call it a high-rise if we wanted to. They have their definitions, they're gonna do it like they're going to. If it's on wheels or jacking systems, putting air in a tire, flat tire is not it. I'm not a big fan of having, right now, going through chapters 32 and all of 38, we have multiple definitions for many, many things. And I'm a big fan of having a unified definition system where possible. I think this, as a individual, but also Mr. Gramley, as you mentioned, one person with it, this wouldn't apply to, but if there's four of them, it would apply to. So if you have four older RVs that are not being able to move and they're not in good condition, and you're having to build on the outside of it in order to use it, then we would start looking at it from that way. I would say yes. That kind of overall looks at the overall idea of this, is that one camper is not what we're looking at. Two campers isn't what we're looking at, three certainly isn't either. It's that fourth one. So that's why we said four or more, and that actually happens to roll with our road standards as well.
And it really isn't an RV park at that point, it doesn't seem like.
You know, that's the thing, I mean, you see a lot of single ones out here, and, we're not concerned about
And
them
we're not
at this
concerned
point.
about the family who can afford an older RV who sets it up as their home. Even if they add a porch or a deck or a little something for their children to play in the backyard, that's not, what we want to look at is that person who allows a group of them that we're part to run down, become decrepit, and continues to charge a fee that's maybe a little over what it should be for those families to have to try to live there, but because they can't afford the deposits and all the things that it takes to move to a new location, they're stuck there. I mean, in my own head, that's what we're trying to do, is not prevent people from living in RVs if that's what they need to, even though it's against the law according, in the state, supposedly. What we're trying to do is protect those people who may end up in them, not because they're high dollar, but not because that's how they want to live, but because it may be their last effort. And we don't want them to be taken advantage of. Am I wrong in that?
I would say that falls within this scope.
Any other questions or comments? Are we okay with this one?
Yeah.
All right. All weather roads and parking areas capable of accommodating an RV and associated vehicles will be provided by the park and reviewed by Oconee County Emergency Services prior to approval and construction. No RV shall be parked or set up in any private or public right-of-way. It does go without saying.
And we did get, and Ms. Law's not here, not pretending to speak for her, but she did ask for a definition for all-weather road. And that is, I got a definition from our fire marshal for all-weather road that's in there.
Thank you, sir. All right, permitted access to the RV park from a state, county, or private road is as follows. Must be included in the submission of plans for an RV park. Permit from SCDOT, county roads. These are standards, right? They're across the county, correct?
Well, the state road permit from SCDOT, yeah, I mean, that one is fine. And for RV parks, but any driveway cut, you need a permission from someone for.
Okay. Private road intersecting a county road, major or minor part written permission from private road owners, major RV park traffic impact study and the recommended improvements therein, permit from county roads and bridges. Anybody have a problem with those? Application review and permitting process. The following application is required for minor and major RV parks. An accounting of total acreage in the tract to be utilized and the number of proposed RV parking spaces and any existing and proposed accessory buildings and setbacks. Location of existing property lines, easements, road right-of-ways, buildings, or other public ways adjoining the tract. Alignment, right-of-way width, and clarification of proposed roads. A map scale with the north arrow and the date. Name, address, telephone number of legal owner or agent.
Question here.
Yes, sir.
How do we keep that current?
The name, address, telephone number of the legal agent.
How do we keep it current? How do you find it? I remember, Adam, you said, okay, I'm gonna send, I need, how do we find these RV park owners? And, if we wanna contact them, how do we do that?
I'd go with whoever pays the taxes, whoever's on the property card. Short of us keeping a running list of RV park owners, have them updated every year kind of thing. I don't really see there's a way,
Is it reasonably easy for you to access that information?
to find out it's all public information. It's up there on our website. We can
All right.
find
That's
out
what I'm
people who don't
looking-
want to be contacted, they're not gonna be contacted. We're gonna have to run them down. But
Yes, sir, Mr. Twyla.
May I ask a question? Do you have a park sign or for emergency call or any kind of number? Is there a number or
It's got
sign?
my phone number on it.
You don't, or
I do.
You do have something with a phone number on
And
it?
when somebody somebody comes to stay at my place, I get it right out a little deal. If you fall or run over each other or, something like that, I'm not responsible for it.
If the
you ain't-
police or the fire department pulled up and they went, oh my gosh, we've got to get in touch with somebody because we've got to pull a power switch or something, is there some placard or a plaque or something that
Like my main panel, it does all of them, so they can put
has
one.
something like that on there?
I didn't have any, but I had never had to. I'm a new one, I do.
I'm just wondering, as far as
I don't
name,
know.
address, and telephone number of the owner or agent, what if it was that we didn't have to keep it here? What if it was just that that's part of it, that you have a small sign that says, here's who you call if there's an emergency or a contact? Is that,
And it's current, and it's gotta be current.
would that be a reasonable?
Mine is current. You talking about calling me for, yeah, they do.
Whether
I've had
you wanted to
people
rent a slip or the
I've
police
had-
needed to call?
Call me. And if you have any trouble, call me. Call me and I'll get ahold of the sheriff's department. 'Cause more than likely, if we got any trouble, it's took care of before the sheriff gets there.
Ever gets there, right, handled that
Really
way,
bad.
so could instead
So,
of,
I ain't talking about I'm gonna go part, but I've had people come there and try to, you always have somebody pull in, might be drunk from the lake or something. You have to handle, kind of hold them there.
Don't most places of business have an emergency contact number?
Well, the sheriff's
That-
office will give you a decal, and it has a number on it to where if they come out after hours and they have to call somebody, they pull that little number off the decal on the door.
so,
And,
that is my point. Mr. Smith said, who's gonna keep up with this information? And rather than the sheriff's department's not gonna call the county after hours, if they need in there, they're gonna call the park owner, so the information would be kept at the park.
Current.
Current.
That's,
So what are you talking about now? What information?
All we're looking for, I believe, if I understand you correctly, is you want there to be at the location.
Yeah.
At the location of the park.
Yeah, it's saying under
A-
here that there should be name, telephone number, and legal owner or agent. And Mr. Smith had asked, who's gonna keep up with that information and keep it current? And we just say, the park owner at the park.
So if it's on a sign, it's okay?
Yeah.
I mean, I got a
Yeah,
sign
you're
going
not-
in there that says,
I think the idea is if there's a fire or something in the middle of the night,
that's
Who does
911.
somebody reach where, if it's a neighbor that sees the blaze and they're going, who do I contact?
Contact 911.
Yeah, first and foremost.
I have got hose pipes, but I don't know how good it'd be on that.
Well, most businesses have that information, an emergency number on the door.
Yes.
state park.
Well, I think that, should we phrase that as such, name, address, current contact information of legal owner or agent
displayed,
be publicly accessible? Or, be
Or
on site,
emergency,
I don't know how to word
emergency
that.
number available or something, I don't know.
If I may, that's only
Yes,
good
sir.
the day that they apply for it.
So, and I realize that this
So-
is currently being listed under applications and permits, but could we put that somewhere in these rules and regs that you need to have a posted?
We could. That's for you.
So you would apply with all that, but then we need to add that as part of the requirement, so that
Right.
we have public.
I think the fire marshals keep files on businesses with contact, emergency contact. I've been second or third
911 side.
contact on about a dozen businesses here.
I know if there's a cow in the road, I know who they call if they're within 15 miles of our driveway.
But again, it may be an agent
But that's
that's
after
involved.
they pulled up our driveway at 3 o'clock in the morning, so.
It may be an agent involved, and that agent could change 14 times in a 2-year period.
That's right, it needs to be the person that you would contact so that they can set foot on that property immediately.
Right.
Yeah, I would agree
That
that
be
that
in the
probably needs to be a
blueprints of this
regulation.
information somewhere. Not that it has anything to do under application.
No, we're simply saying that when they access the RV park, if they saw, somebody climbing in a window, I mean, yes,
Whatever it might be,
think you're
who's the
gonna dial
responsible party?
911, but at the same time, you're also gonna wanna get a hold of somebody that is responsible, because you don't wanna get in trouble for calling 911. So if they can possibly call, but I don't know why, like I said, cows at our place, but you do need to be able to get a hold of the person who is legally responsible for the property itself. Not just the owner of the RV. Hopefully they can get a hold of the RV owner.
Every park that I have stayed in, and I've stayed in parks from here all the way to the coast, when you go into the park, or even if it's a small park, there's still paperwork you have to sign, and that will have the phone number of the person you need to contact if anything goes wrong with the sewer, the water, the electrical, or if a gopher just happens to pop up in the middle of your dadgum campsite. There's always an emergency contact number, because a lot of them, like him, he don't live on that site. He may live a mile down the road. So to me, that sort of sense, it's a thing that everybody does anyway. Even state parks do it. They've got emergency contacts, rangers or whoever that's there. You get all that information when you sign the paperwork to stay at that particular park.
But you not staying at that particular park, can you go to any park in this county and tell me who to contact?
911.
911 because a kid just fell down on his bicycle?
Yep.
Or 911 because,
Or you pull up in there and you help the child and you say, whose child is this? Most of the businesses that parks
911
have,
because the water's running?
you pull up in there and turn the water off. But what I'm sitting at, most of these campsites, most of the camp places, they'll have their name out there that says Joe Blow's Camp RV Park, and they'll have a phone number under it.
Correct.
Going down the
His
road, every one
document
of them that has that.
as a
That's what we're
blueprint.
asking for.
But we don't have to make that a requirement because it's already being done. I mean, that's like trying to remake a donut.
Let me say something. It's already being done in the existing facilities. This is a blueprint for future facilities because the existing facilities are exempt. And we're giving a blueprint for future facilities on what you should do. Hey, you need to call these people, you need to do this, you need to do this, and you need to make sure you have a sign with your phone number on it.
I don't think that's asking too much, to put that in there.
I know we were just talking about putting more restrictions on this, and now we're adding other restrictions on this.
Let's go back to the
That's
intent.
fine.
Let's go back to the intent of safe environment, and that's part of it. You have a business,
So where do you want to put it in this?
That, I don't know where it would go in there.
I'm sure Adam can find a place for it.
If that's what you all would like to do, we can certainly add something that all the RV parks have to have clearly posted contact information for their manager, or agent, or I'll come up with something, but yeah, it'd be like, you gotta clearly post. Now, what that means, what's clearly posting mean, but, yeah, I mean, it could be a handout, it could be a I think much more likely somebody probably back over a septic field or septic tank or run into a well. Because if something's on fire, people call 911, we'll figure out who's
Right.
the property owner later. The insurance agents will hash that one out. I just recently saw someone who had never driven a motor coach before drive into a septic and over and into a septic field,
Get stuck.
above it. And, yeah, they got stuck. So, but we could, yeah, if you all want to include that, certainly. It's
You need to make a motion for that, Gwen?
I would assume we would need to make a motion for that,
That's something you all
that
want.
to simply direct staff to look at those, at what it would take to do that, add it in at the appropriate place, and in an appropriate manner. They don't need a 40-foot sign, they just need something simple, where if, for example, I'm assuming that he didn't want to have to call 911 to get pulled out of that, because he probably didn't want to know anybody he drove into it. Y'all just need to get a hold of the owner to help him get out. Yes, he requested a motion.
I'll try to make a motion that we include in there, emergency contact information be displayed in an appropriate manner for future RV parks.
I'll second that.
In a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We did no vote.
I did,
Oh, okay.
Was that Mr. Pearson on this?
I was for it.
And it might be that we want to consider at some point in the discussion the next go-round, that only be for the large size rather than the smaller size ones. Just a thought, not for tonight, but. All right, location of water courses and land subject to flooding based on a 100-year frequency flood. Owner's surveyor shall indicate if property is or is not in a floodplain. I didn't think you could do anything in a floodplain. I'm sorry,
No, you can't. RVs you can.
okay.
And you can build anything as long as it's over 3 feet finished floor height, elevation, there's a bunch of stuff for it, but yes, you can.
Okay. The existing and proposed uses of land throughout the RV park, permits and method of water supply and wastewater treatment and other utility service. And they would be bringing that from the other places that they've talked to, DHEC, et cetera, correct? DHEC land disturbance permits and stormwater permits if applicable. Proposed names of the subdivision and internal road system. Would that be for a major one, or would that be all of them?
It just depends, it depends what their end goal is. If they're gonna name their, I should call it park, not subdivision, an internal road system. So if they're gonna name it, they're gonna do things such as that, let's just go ahead and lay that out. It's a lot easier for people to do beforehand than after.
Okay. Zoning and overlays, any other information the zoning administrator or their designated requests? Everybody good? No. All right, penalties. Any person or entity violating the regulations set forth in this article is guilty of a misdemeanor and may be fined up to $500 or in prison for 30 days or both. And that is within the whatever of our zoning officer,
I'm gonna let,
officer.
yeah, I mean, that all falls under here, and of course, Mr. Rudel gonna review all of this as well. I'm gonna come back to you after he's reviewed also. Hopefully it's the next meeting, but if he's not available to run through it before then, or be the meeting afterwards.
All right. Any other questions or comments? All right.
If I may, so I
Yes, sir.
would, if I could, have you all make a motion for staff to turn this into ordinance, draft ordinance,
Okay.
with any changes as needed.
Can we get a motion
I'll
to
make-
advance the recreational vehicle park discussion into ordinance form?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor? We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Say aye. Opposed? Thank you, Mr. Graham. All right, we shall go on to our good neighbor ordinance discussion. Citizen comment, and I don't believe we had anybody signed up for that particular one. No, we did not. So, we shall move on for discussion since, not everybody agrees with the fact that good fences make good neighbors.
If
Yes,
I may, so this all started off, comprehensive plan, was talking about commercial development standards. Planning Commission brought up prioritizing commercial development standards. And at the last meeting, I kind of brought up some bullet points about commercial development standards. And then there was conversation had, I believe yourself, Mrs. Lyle, I think several of you had, that subdivisions coming in also caused some conflict. To that end, we couldn't call it commercial development standards then. So I just went with good neighbor ordinance as a kind of catch-all. We can call it development standards, just regular development standards, that's fine. I'm not married to the title, although it's a good title. And I just kind of went with there. And really, it just speaks to lighting and screening and buffering. That's the entirety of it. If you all like to go through it whichever way, I'm happy to do it line by line or generality by generality. You all just tell me what your thoughts are.
Does anybody have a comment? I know that a number of years, I mean, I always speak from an agricultural point of view, but if at this point in time right now, if we decided that we wanted to build new poultry houses on our property, we would immediately be subject to a 1,500-foot setback from every property line, period. No questions asked, no, that's where we start. So it doesn't matter if somebody comes and builds a subdivision on the property next to us when that person decides to dispose of their property. They would still only have to have whatever the standard county setback is for a home on that property line. I don't know what that is, but it's like, what, 25 feet or?
5 or 10 feet.
It's not very far. And then forever and ever into the future, we would have to, although we had been set back 1,500 feet so that we did not offend them, even though we've been there over 100 years, they could come up and set on our property at 5 feet off and start complaining because they don't like the smell that they moved next to, even though they liked the view when they bought the property. So some time ago, I know that Ms. Lyle was part of a group, and I was also a part of that group, who requested what we called reciprocal setbacks. We simply said, if we got a setback 1,500 feet, everybody else ought to have to fit. In other words, if you move in, you're new to an area, and there's already something there, then if they had to set back 1,500 feet, then you should also. Obviously, realtors and developers weren't real gung-ho about that one. But we do need to think about the fact that as we get more and more crowded, as people get more and more close together in all the things that they do, whether it's business or living. Unfortunately, I don't know how you guys are, but I've noticed recently that since the virus and the stress and strain of maybe not having a steady income and maybe being stuck in the house with your kids all the time, has certainly made people tend to be a tad on the meaner side than they were when we started this deal. And if that is any indication of what our future growth is going to be like, I certainly think that we need to plan for ways to not count on people's integrity as much as simply saying, in order to live close together, we need these things. Whether it's a mask or a wall or a stand of trees or a berm of ground that absorbs noise, whatever it is, we need to think about how do we keep from being a pain in the neck to other people when we move where they already are. That said, how would y'all like to look at the good neighbor ordinance? Sentence by sentence, line by line? Anybody got a preference? All right.
Mike does.
Yes, sir?
I think it's overdue, and we really need to start thinking about something like this because we can see the pressure going outward, the urban development. And you see it, and you mentioned it before. And we all want to be good neighbors, and somehow or another, as you said, times are changing, and jeepers, we need to be sure that we can do something, and if this is what it takes, or some format of this is what it's going to take. It's one thing if you live in the middle of 1,000 acres, but it's another if you live in the middle of 1 acre. So-
And I gathered, Mr. Chapman, that this would take the place of the commercial development standards?
Yeah, I just couldn't call, with the addition of adding kind of a residential component to it, I
Right.
couldn't really call it commercial development. So we can call it just development standards. I mean, we do have a development standards portion. We can add that there. I mean, whatever y'all call it.
Would this be something that we need to look at as being added to our development standards that currently exist, or does this need to stand alone?
So where I foresee this going is in chapter 38, which is our zoning code. There's basically a section of it, the 38-9, and there's some places there where I think it could fit in there. I don't think it would go as a separate chapter unless, and over the course of time it could. So right now it's 2 pages. If we started breaking it down into more performance standard style, or really kind of getting into finer grain detail perhaps on its own, but I think right now this can just be part of our zoning code.
All right, everybody good with that?
Yeah, this is a precursor.
All right. All right, lighting standards. For lighting of horizontal tasks, that is, things that go this way, fixtures shall meet full cutoff, no light output above 90 degrees at any lateral angle around the fixture, meaning they can't go up, is that, I'm sorry, that's a
How do
little
you
bit.
describe that? You know what lateral is?
Okay, you got a picture, cool.
You know what that is? Andy? Yeah.
This is what we're talking about, if y'all can see it. I'm sorry, that TV's not on, it's broken. Video.
Make it bigger.
Full cutoff.
Make it bigger.
I think we're at Control Plus, right?
Go.
So basically, for everyone, a lot of people come here, a lot of people live here because it's a natural kind of place. Light pollution is a huge issue throughout the world as a whole. Having full cutoff, the one on the far left, having light face down, not in your neighbor's yard, kind of seems, you know,
Good neighborly.
And I looked into several examples from other county jurisdictions, and I was like, all right, what do y'all do because lighting got brought up? And it's really basically like this paragraph. It's the Illuminating Engineering Society of North America.
Hot dog.
Look at that.
That's a good one.
And that's basically full cutoff. You can go to Home Depot and buy full cutoff shades. That's for roads and sidewalks. It's not for, if you have to put on security lights at your house, it's for standard things like that, so.
All right, everybody got that?
I'll say if I may.
That's okay.
So, Mr. Markovich did bring up a point there that they do have to mount things, so I can clarify that the light poles and things of that nature shouldn't be over 20 feet, as opposed to putting like spotlights on your house and lighting, security lighting in your house and things of that nature, because there are certainly plenty of houses in this county that are higher than 20 feet. So I can clarify that language.
We've got businesses that's taller than 20 feet. They will have lights on the side of them.
Features shall not be pole mounted in access, do you need to add that word, or is there a reason that you,
Well, to my head it made sense, like these are for parking lots, these are for roadways, these are for, what do they put it here, horizontal tasks. As opposed to C, when you start looking at letter C there, it starts addressing lighting of your business and things of that nature. I can try to clean up this language a little bit though to make it more accessible, if that's something y'all like.
What is the typical street lamp height?
So it was a great question. Mr. Peterson called me earlier in the week and asked me that same question. And I definitely do not still have an answer, because they are all over the place, depending on where you go. DOT has their range, you know, to have clearance for RVs, to have clearance for semis, you have to be so high. But where you get, I mean, it varies all over the place. But these are these aren't those kind of like those gooseneck lamps that you all are used to seeing or you have seen going over roads. This is much more looking at what businesses and other entities that this applies to would put in, as opposed to lighting a road.
I don't think we can give a designated height for lights in Oconee County. I mean, lights for lighting the parking lot at Walmart probably ought to be 40 or 50 feet tall. Lights for a gas station parking lot that's got a house on the next lot over, it doesn't need to have lights that are gonna disturb that house.
That's true.
If you did away with B and simply said all outdoor lighting shall be aimed, located, designed, fitted, and maintained and mounted so as not to present a hazard to drivers, you've covered it. It's pretty simple. It allows you to put it for Walmart or somebody next door. I sure don't want to be the sheriff when we start asking him what somebody can call a nuisance at that point. But I think this is a precursor to, as we get more crowded, I'm sure this will get more use as people need them.
Well, and then looking at the cutoff, not full cutoff, but obviously not non-cutoff, as far as in and around residential areas, would be nice.
The full cutoff?
No, just where it's running parallel or horizontal to the ground, as opposed to something that looks like a baseball stadium in the middle of a residential area.
Well, that's why I say just leave it as all outdoor lighting.
In other words,
Take out such as floodlights and spotlights. All outdoor lighting shall be aimed, located, designed, fitted, and maintained and mounted so as not to present a hazard to drivers or pedestrians by impairing their ability to safely traverse, and so as not to create a nuisance by projecting or reflecting objectionable light skyway onto an. You've covered it. If you're in an area where you need a large parking lot, you can do full, not full cut off the other one, et cetera. Take out B completely.
Are you taking out paragraph B, Gwen?
Taking out line B, fixtures shall not be mounted in excess of 20 feet above finished grade.
And then revising
And
paragraph C.
revising C to be B, number 1, and then simply say all outdoor lighting shall be aimed, located, designed, fitted, and maintained and mounted. Or mounted and maintained.
Can you remove A too? I mean, with the full.
Yeah,
cutoff
really,
and
you've got your
cutoff.
standard if you want to,
I mean, I think the goal is not to shine lights.
not to bother
in your
people.
Neighbors' windows, right? I mean,
Are y'all okay with that? Take out A too?
So, and then it brings up the question, should this all be excluded in commercial areas? I mean, if you've got a downtown apartment, you're gonna have lights shining in your window. If you're on a Main Street apartment. We don't have those right now, but we will have those at some point. And if I lived in downtown Greenville, I would expect lights shining in my bedroom.
We have some in Walhalla.
So, but you know what I'm saying? If it's a commercial district, it's a commercial district. If it's already zoned commercial, should this completely be excluded?
This would affect
I
something
was gonna
similar
say
to
this
the
is
general
maybe
dollar
for-
store in Westminster there on 76, where they're in the city, so we can't do a whole lot with them. They're on that corner, and then they've got that house right there beside them, and all the houses and stuff behind
Correct,
them. And
but it
that
really
would affect
wasn't a
that part.
commercial district, it was just, they built it
They built it in a residential
control-free.
area.
You what?
It was built in a residential
In a
area.
residential area, so it should absolutely apply.
So this would apply to that,
But
but not,
my point is if a residential entity moved into a commercial area, if you built a subdivision next to Walmart, you built a subdivision
Yeah,
next to
you just
Walmart.
built a
You should know
subdivision.
it's got a lit up parking lot. And we shouldn't make Walmart necessarily conform because somebody decided to build a house next door, if it was a commercial district.
Can't that chart just apply to the lighting as well, at the bottom?
I mean, I'm just bringing up the question is, if,
I figure if you move into a situation that
Well, I was gonna say,
There.
does this not apply to incoming
Yeah, well,
as opposed to
the
what
chart,
is already there?
the chart below says, where screening and buffering is required. It says proposed use and has non-residential, multifamily, and mixed use adjacent to agriculture and residential, and then the other and so on. So I think it's really those specific areas when they move in next to these.
okay.
So I think it covers that, although it just says screening and buffering. I don't know that lighting is written on there, but it should be, because I
You
agree
could just
with you.
add lighting in there.
Yeah,
Just say when lighting, screening, and buffering is required.
yeah, I would agree with that.
So if I may, so I'm tracking with all this, because
Yes, sir.
we're doing some stuff. So starting with number one, lighting, you all want to cut off the full A. You all want to get rid of that. Is line A, is that correct?
Yes.
I'm okay with that.
You also want to get rid of B.
Yes, sir.
That. No, and then under C, which was now A, all other outdoor lighting and scratch out such as spotlights, and then we'll keep the rest of that there. And so that the entirety of lighting becomes one sentence.
Word others taken out too.
Word others. take
All
out.
outdoor lighting.
All outdoor lighting.
No flashing lights.
That's right, so it's C and D now become the
A and
entirety
B.
of this.
Yes, so D
Oh.
definitely needs to be.
And then I'll add to this chart where screening, buffering, and lighting standards, what have you, lighting standards are required.
And I would also simply add flashing lights and lasers are prohibited. I mean,
What'd you say? I'm sorry.
flashing lights and lasers
Oh, yeah.
are prohibited. Is that, I'm thinking of signs, but maybe I shouldn't be. I don't know.
Like the red dot lasers.
Yeah, I mean, the ones that people periodically shine into airplane pilot size. Is that,
I don't know that I've seen
Does
it
it apply?
permanent, but I don't think that would
okay,
apply.
I mean, I'm just thinking, if it's a sales thing,
I'd be
you know.
concerned about that. I mean, you've got
Okay.
laser lights that control garage door openers. You've
Okay,
got
never mind.
laser lights that become security.
I'm good.
And
Take
your,
that.
and your flashing
Forgot I
lights
mentioned it.
are regulated if they're certain, we call it if they're so.
They have to be within that realm
They have
that
to be
sets off
dim
people with,
or, I mean, they can't be real bright in effect, because Moon's Drugstore had one in Westminster, and they had to tone it down, because it was so, at night, it would just about blind you when you drive down through there and it
and there's a
flashes.
standard for people with epilepsy
And
too,
there's
that
standards for
within
that
a
too.
range of things, I think, so.
Do you want to make a?
Can we,
All right, Mr. Markovich,
Let's take off 2 seconds. So when you're referring to all lighting and whether or not it flashes, you're referring to all holiday lighting, right?
no flashing
not
Christmas
commercial.
trees?
Christmas lights.
That's a fair point, that's a fair question.
it is a fair question, but on the other hand, these are permanent lights, not
Probably
3 weeks out of the year lights,
Probably.
correct?
safe permanent lights.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that's a great point.
It's a good point, but, and if we need to add a word that these are fixtures,
Permanent lighting.
All permanent.
Permanent.
Well, so the A covered that, but we got rid of it.
all right, so
Lighting
maybe,
standards for the task of roadways, sidewalks, and entrances, parking areas. So AA covered that portion. So we can take that,
and just rephrase it into,
we can certainly put that in there, yeah.
okay,
So holiday lights notwithstanding, I mean, it wouldn't be, it's not for your decorative lights, it's not even for your signage, it'd be for,
those particular uses, right.
and plus then that addresses your initial comment as well, about things being on houses, if we keep it to that, I'll play with that.
Thank you, sir. All right, screening and buffering. Screening and a physical separation or buffer must be provided at least the entire length of the proposed developed area plus 25% and up to the entire length of the shared property lines as determined by the planning director for the purpose of screening and buffering adjacent activities from view. A proposed project including but not limited to buildings, solid waste, parking and drive lanes, outdoor storage, signage, and lighting.
If I may.
Yes,
So,
sir.
taking off from our last meeting, where we had a lot of conversation about that gun range, and that gun range is like 18, or proposed piece of property, has 1,800 feet of shared property line. But that's why, so the proposed developed area plus 25% is that, let's just say, we're getting the gun range, let's say they want to put a gas station in along that shared property line. To me, it would make sense to say you gotta run a fence 1,800 feet. It would seem that you would have that, let's say the project's 100 feet, you have 125 feet. Like that seems logical with the size of parcels we have in this county. If it was in a city, of course not, you'd probably have everything boxed in. But with the length of property lines here, it would seem like that was my rationale for that. Just wanna put it out there.
Thank you. I was having some trouble with that.
All right, does everybody want to pause just 1/2 second for about a 2-minute break? Frankie has requested a 2-minute break, if we can handle that.
Yeah.
Give us a minute or two to think about, okay?
The cameras will be on.
All right, are we back in order? Screening and buffering. Everybody clear on what he's talking about as far as length and distance?
Yeah.
There's no mandated screening or buffering, correct? Yes, here we go.
There is, yeah, so
Chris.
this first chart right here is, it goes where, what, and how, basically. So this is the where, agriculture is exempted, so if you're gonna build a gas station, or an apartment complex, or a apartment complex above the gas station, or some combination thereof, and you're going next to existing agricultural or residential, and that should be single-family residential, or really any residential, it's more up to y'all. You're gonna have to put a buffer and screening in. If you have residential, so the reason why there's these two things is because residential wasn't out there, so residential, multifamily mixed use next to non-residential, and that was the question you all brought up last time, is when subdivisions come in next to non-residential, sometimes there's issues, and agriculture. So they would have to create a screening and or buffering. So this is the where part. The how is the next page.
Yeah, all right. Everybody clear on the chart? Right.
Go into the chart one more time.
Me,
Yes, sir?
this word maintenance is very important, because you can have a buffer, and after a period of time, if you don't maintain it, it doesn't become a buffer anymore. So that word is very important.
All right, screening requirements, unless otherwise required, the following minimum landscaping and screening provisions will apply. Minimum 6-foot tall wall, fence, berm, evergreen screening, existing vegetation or combination thereof, with a combined minimum height of 6 feet above grade shall be used for the purposes of screening. If evergreen plant material is used, it must be at least 4 feet in height at the time of planting, and capable of forming a continuous opaque screen at least 6 feet in height, with individual planting space not more than 5 feet apart. Berms, if utilized, shall have a side slope no greater than a ratio of 3 to 1. Existing vegetation may be utilized provided it provides the screening required as determined by the planning director or their designee. Fences or walls installed for the purposes of screening shall have a finished side towards the adjacent or neighboring properties. That's another one of those good neighbor things, show them the pretty side instead of the ugly.
So if I may, just kind of what's about,
Sir.
you, once again, using one of those large tracts of property, it didn't make sense to me that we'd say, well, you gotta have a evergreen buffer, so you gotta cut down all your pine trees, so you can plant these pine trees. So like if you have 500 feet of frontage, you're only using 100 feet over here, and it's just forest, the rest of it, it doesn't make sense for us to say, oh, well, you don't have the right rhododendron right there. So that's the general idea, is that we're able to look at this with more of a, oh, yeah, exactly. So, and as far as have a finished side towards the adjacent property, it doesn't mean you can't have a finished side towards your property, it just means you gotta have one towards them. Because some people like having the finished side towards your property, although it looks like the fence was bent backwards. But that's just my comment.
All right, everybody good? Any comments? Buffer requirements, a buffer is a physical separation by distance between development and the adjacent property lines. The size of the buffer measure running parallel with the shared property lines, the length of the developed areas in view of adjacent existing uses. And there he has acreage with a minimum size of the buffer.
Is this in conjunction with whatever the zoning is in that area?
So, for the first one, yes, sir, the 5 feet, generally speaking, the side setbacks in large portions of the county are just 5 feet, so it's already existing. As it gets larger, no, it's not.
No, what I'm asking, like, so this is just 5 feet regardless of what zone you're in?
Yeah, this would be, this is
That's kind of the universal.
above what exists. This is, so setbacks are, these are similar to setbacks, these are definitely setbacks, but these would have, maybe in addition to. So if you have 50 acres in control-free district, your side setbacks are still 5 feet. If you go below a half acre, they're still 5 feet.
So these would just add, so with this buffer though, you would have, say if you have half acre to 2 acres, you would actually be 20 feet.
That, then I'm not being clear, no, then it would just be 15 feet, I'll fix that language, it would just be 15 foot. It wouldn't be addition to,
Not in addition to setbacks. Everybody okay with that? Any questions? Uses permitted in the buffer, additional landscaping, agricultural planting, stormwater drainage easements, necessary drains, culverts, riprap, DHEC approved stormwater retention, detention areas, DHEC approved septic systems, permitted signage, sidewalks, shared use driveways, parking lots, stub outs, not parking lots for the purposes of connectivity. Everybody okay with that? Yes, sir?
I just want to ask this question here. Let's say that you've got more than 2 acres. You've got the minimum size of the buffer is 25 feet, so you start putting sidewalks in there or whatever. You don't have 25 feet anymore. You can work this down if you keep putting drainage systems, easements in there, whatever. You can, this buffer, instead of being this wide, will only be about this wide. Be very, very narrow. Am I misinterpreting something there?
I was thinking the same thing.
so if I mean, everything, with the exception of probably the signage, everything else in there, let's say that we don't have drainage issues between neighbors, let's just say that you can keep your, whatever the stormwater things on there, additional landscaping, plantings, any sort of drains, culverts, ripraps, those are assuming they're installed correctly and you're not draining onto your neighbor's property, they're non-noxious uses. I mean, septic system is a septic system, but if properly installed, it's not a noxious use, it just happens to be kind of close to you. And that was my intent, is to not take away people's ability to use any of the land, but to keep their buffer, a space in between there, especially for parking, because that parking to me is hearing doors slam, car startup, is a fairly noxious next door usage. Signage could be, depending on the sign, what it says, I suppose could be noxious. But this does take away from a wider scope of plantings and things and such of that, but if you do, yes, it could, to answer your question, yes, it could. I don't think, but it still lets people use the property.
We allow, or the county allows sidewalk, or not necessarily sidewalks, but trails, walkways in overlay areas now during the setbacks and like.
Correct, yeah, to get down to the lake, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So it's not out, I just thought about that, we're not saying they can do things that they can't do around the lake in their setbacks and their buffer zones that they have.
Let's not confuse it any more
But I
than
mean,
it
it's
is
still the same,
confusing.
still the same thing.
I'm just envisioning in my thought that this 25-foot buffer is now getting kind of narrow.
Still
I'm neither one way or the other, but I mean, you need a buffer's a buffer.
Do we need to put a percentage on it?
I don't know, is anybody else, I mean,
What's the percentage on the buffer like at the lake
It's a 15% view lane.
that you can utilize?
Right, so if you're to make a cart path down the lake, you do a 4 foot wide?
4 feet wide, well,
6
where
feet.
I am, 4 feet wide.
So should we put some
4 to
kind
6
of
foot wide.
percentage that you can use this much of this, buffer for sidewalk, signage and all, but the rest of it has to stay a buffer?
I'm just raising the question that things could be put in there, and before you know it, you've got a 3-foot buffer. And I'm wondering, but a 3-foot buffer could be very effective if it's done properly.
It's 6 feet high too.
But even with the buffer, you still have the screening requirements, right?
Sure.
So in other words, you've got to have either a wall or a row of trees or plantings, and then if you have space left, you can put in more landscaping, the plants can be can you have, say, for example, Leland cypress in a stormwater drainage easement? Or no?
And an easement, if it's not dictated, I mean, you can put anything in there. I don't know that I put one in there, but, I mean, you could do like like a rain garden, I mean, not that everyone would, but you could put,
You
flood
put various
tolerant
plants, but if you're
plants.
calling for something 6 feet tall, most of the time your evergreens are gonna be something like a Leland cypress or a privet hedge or, am I
These
correct?
green giants,
Yeah, arborvitae,
So I guess my intent was, so especially looking at the smaller lots, it's 5 feet. If you need a place to put your, so it's 5 feet on the other side, that's 10 feet. If you can't use that 10 feet, especially in this county, we have septic systems, it's necessary. And that 10 feet, and I've seen quite a few, Vivian and I've seen quite a few cases where 10 feet is having to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals kind of thing, because they need 10 feet. Same thing at 25 feet for the larger tracts, is that still allowing people to use their property, just not install buildings and things like that close to property lines, was more of my, when we were looking at this, more of an intent. And everything else that goes in there is not they're not active uses. So the sidewalks and shared use driveways and stub outs could be, but when you're putting sidewalks, shared use driveways and parking lot stub outs, you're already interacting with that adjacent property. And that was my view of it, is that if you're putting some of those things in there, you already have that interface with that other property. And you can.
And this basically keeps the building from being, it has to be at least 25 feet from the property line.
So if I were to come in and build a gas station next to your property, you probably wouldn't want a shared driveway with me.
Yeah, which would be better than mine.
Right, okay, well, that's fair. But you wouldn't want to share a driveway with me, so I wouldn't have it there. But if I were to come in and put in a barbecue stand, maybe you would want to share a driveway. I mean, we already have the interaction, so we could have that. I guess maybe that's a bad example, but
Not
I
for
know.
me, I don't like barbecue.
well, and I didn't
I
have a problem
understand
with
what
this
you're
because you have the other things that that they need to meet, and the other stuff is gonna need to be pretty well planned, to make it work. So I kinda feel like I'm usually the one that's fussing about agriculture, so for me, yeah, the sidewalks is an odd thing, but if they can get a sidewalk in there and have the trees or the walls, it's okay.
Well, so like for using someone mentioned Walmart, you're gonna move next to Walmart. Well, maybe you want connectivity with Walmart. Let's just say you do. And so you'd be able to put a sidewalk from your property up to Walmart, assuming Walmart property agree with it. You'd be able to connect
Yeah.
the properties or whatever that use is. Keep cars off the road kind of thing. So that was in my mind. That was my.
just picture everybody from Walmart using that sidewalk coming to your house.
Well, a prime example is the subdivision next to the Kiwi Marina. And they put a sidewalk to the marina.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think, again, just like you said, you don't want to restrict the people from using the property as much as possible while you're protecting the people that they're next to if need be. So I think it's good. Everybody okay? If everybody else, seems like we're in agreement pretty much on that. All right, exemptions. The buffer and screening requirements may be waived or modified between two or more non-residential, mixed-use, residential, or multifamily developments in the plain directive if all adjacent property owners provide a notarized recorded statement that permits the new development not to follow the standards herein.
So I'm gonna say I
Yes,
did
sir.
not run past this Mr. Root at all, so I'm gonna go with, I'm hoping I can do this, but I'd like to find a way for us to not to have to come to a board in order for if I have to put a fence up, we can have as neighbors, have a neighborly agreement. Or like I said, if I'm Walmart and you're Target, and we wanna have our neighbors come in like that, we should be able to do that with just, here, write up a letter, we'll notarize it, record it with the land, let it run with the land kind of thing. If that's possible, I'd like to have that. That's my thought. Now, it does take away from overall scope. We're letting people basically spot out what they want to and not. So I guess there's two ways to look at it, and property transfer hands and things of that nature. It could have a lot of pitfalls. I think it could have a lot of promise as well. So Mrs. McPhail brought up poultry houses earlier. So she has to be 1,500 feet off property line, but she can get a waiver from her neighbor to be closer to it as well, if the neighbor agrees. So that was kind of in my head with this as well.
Yeah, no, we have to get the approval just to get the 1,500.
Yeah.
So,
You could, I didn't say you will, I said you could.
yeah, there we go. All right, everybody good with what we've done so far tonight?
Mm-hmm.
Are we okay? Do you need instructions or a motion to move forward and put this into okay, maybe we need to go back just half a second. Has anybody got a name they like better?
That's some other poetry I like.
I like that good neighbor,
Then good neighbor?
I love it, yeah.
It's not really gonna be an ordinance, correct? It's simply going to be an addition to our standards?
It'll be a chapter, it won't be
It'll be a chapter.
it'll be a chapter within our ordinance. We can certainly, I think development standards is probably the most fitting, or somehow something someone would call more professional, I suppose. But I'll stick with development standards until otherwise proven doesn't work.
And that said, do you need anything else from us this evening?
Not regarding this, cause I will, it's up to you to put stuff, I mean, if you'd like to put it on the agenda next week, and I'll clean this up and with any of the additions, and moving stuff around, to let y'all, just like the RV park thing, let y'all chew on it a couple times before I bring it in front of our legal department, so we can get all our bits and pieces organized. So I don't need anything else.
All right, US Census update.
So, the census was supposed to be done by
April 30th?
April 30th. It is now July 6th and it's still up and going. And it will continue to go. Has everyone here filled out their census? Yes, excellent. We definitely need more people filling out their census. 110% we need more people filling out their census because we are running low.
When do they start the door-to-door visits? Is that already started?
So that's saying, this is on here.
I think it was on the next page.
Remote Alaska's has been hitting up.
Can you-
Field offices, update,
Non-response follow-up, I believe it is.
updated new rate, a non-response follow-up, NRFU. Theoretically started in May, but it may stretch out. This is the new schedule, I'm sorry, will start August 11th and go through Halloween. And then this is our response rate so far for the county. South Carolina as a whole, we're at 56.3%. Oconee County, we just barely broke 54%, 54.3%. Falls Creek, Cliffs, Kiwi Key is at 63 and change. Salem, 40%. Seneca, 58, 53. West Union has been stuck at 39.9 for a while. And Westminster, I mean, everyone's moving up. West Union is somewhat stalled out, but Mayor Oliver's doing what she can to make them,
39 people in West Union.
That should be close to 100%,
You
shouldn't
would
it?
think so.
right? So last census, we had about a 78% response rate. I'm gonna say 77.6% response rate. Corona, tornado, global, countrywide civil rights movement, things are changing our paradigm. So if you can, if you have social media, if you call people, if you're at something somewhere and have the opportunity to say, hey, fill out your census, that'd be great.
So if they have the percentage that has completed it, doesn't that mean they already know the total number?
That is a very good point from a financial man, yes.
Because from the American community, so they're using the American Community Survey. Okay, that's a good point. Like, we know who you are, so they're gonna knock
I guess
on
they're
your door.
knocking on doors.
Yeah,
They need to tell folks that if they don't fill it out, they're gonna fill it out for them and see what happens.
That's right.
mail-in census.
Any other comments for the good of the cause?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
I don't think we have to vote.